So today we're continuing with the different in-depth look of factions. Uh, this is the second one. Last was revealed to be a rump state of the second committee that ran Union and was ousted, and then Sure and started aggressively colonizing resource-rich worlds and aggressively expanding, though they are still, I guess, ostensibly still part of Union. So this you'll recognize as the sort of luxury, handcrafted mech developers that many of which have invisibility or other sort of just elements that make them hard to engage. Yardi contain perfection. Welcome to the future of humanity. You by Smith Shimano. That looks like it. Smith Shimano Corpo is the second most powerful corpo state in the galaxy. Unlike Harrison Armory and IPSN, it holds very little physical territory and doesn't practice colonial missions in the traditional sense. SSC's physical holdings are dwarfed by its omninet presence and its ubiquity across the cosmopolita and diaspora. SSC rose to prominence during the second expansion period. It rapidly dominated the core market for biological and cybernetic enhancements. In the heyday of Union's liberal pre-Deimos transhumanism, following the Deimos event, the First Contact Accords, and the ensuing crackdown on machine mind creation and ontologic singularity-focused experimentation, SSC adopted a more natural philosophy towards human enhancement. Instead of pursuing the marriage of human consciousness and artificial intelligence, SSC's researchers began to focus on improving the bodies we live in. Instead of negating the need to step to the stars, they sought to make it so we could step among the stars. SSC's corporeal research pushes the edge of what it means to be human. Cybernetic enhancements, subdermal nettings, oral communicators, neural-neutral omnihooks, ontologic bridges, co-subjectivity modes, panacea glands. The list is exhausting, and that only covers the tech design by the Foreign Bodies Department of SSC's massive research and development program, not to mention the wide portfolio of goods developed by artisan enclaves and masterwork fabricators associated with SSC. Worlds. The backbone of SSC's power is demonstrated in the form of its own citizens. A population of millions spread across a constellation of moons, worlds, stations, and habitats in the Sierra Madre line. The social and genetic composition of these populations is monitored and precisely cultivated using cultural suggestion, infrastructural guidance, and societal coercion. SSC's goal is to produce... Oh man, that's not good. That sounds a lot like borderline eugenics. best fit genetic material for the corpora's big mammoth buyers, colony firms looking to license bespoke populations for as yet unexploited worlds. SSC's home campus is a shared virtual space in the OmniNet that connects the wide anarchic net of SSC-aligned worlds and moons into one cohesive body. The Constellar Congress, or the Constellar, worlds with membership in the Constellar, those directly administered by SSC, which are few in number, and worlds that administer themselves, but whose populations are genetic constituents of SSC, and choose to associate with the corpus state, which are far more numerous, are the constellar worlds that comprise SSC's population. The Constellar Congress is shielded by layers of security coding, managed by NHP, seeded from proprietary subjectivities and tightly administered by ranks of constellar bureaucrats. This well-defended virtual state represents the bleeding edge of organic, synthetic, virtual interfacing. The Constellar Congress's virtual campus is represented as palatial, memory-chambered estate where the representatives meet in virtual space. The building does not appear to have a counterpart in reality, though it is often suggested that its architectural inspiration comes from a building on SSC's first colony world, Opal, rendered inhospitable following bitter violence in the first expansion period. Real space SSC campuses exist across the Sierra Madre line, providing similar services to embassies and medical centers for the corporal state's member populations. These embassies are uplinks for SSC's private OmniNode, publicly accessible to the populations of these worlds. Worlds under SSC's direct control are dramatic in their environmental variance. They include everything from lightly developed atmospheric moons through Arcadian worlds. In all cases, their population are tightly controlled through deep cultural manipulation to generate biome-specific lines of seed material. The people of these worlds are aware of SSC's mission. They are freely associated members of the corpo state, most of whom are invested in its mission, literally, and are generally unconcerned with SSC's human experimentation projects, save for the regular, culturally appropriate samplings of genetic material and an expectation of arranged conquering life on constellar worlds. Is unremarkable and quiet. Most constellar populations view the Constellar Congress and its myriad environments as their primary cultural space, not whatever real space world on which they reside. Despite SSC's use of constellar worlds as advertisements for the quality of genome available for license, these worlds remain only that, advertisements. SSC does not sell people, according to its marketing. It sells potential. Cells and data are the heart of SSC's business, not whole persons or populations. The corporal state's power comes from the cultivation of best fit healthy genetic material for colonial projects, medical and military applications, and private use. To expand its libraries of genetic stock, SSC regularly mounts expeditions into all sectors of space with the goal of seeking out new and interesting populations. The recruitment and marketing materials carried by SSC representatives leans heavily on the benefits of immigration to SSC worlds. They are, the messaging declares, your ideal paradise. SSC is also known for luxury consumer goods and machinery, elegant ships, mechanized chassis, on hard seats for the discerning metropolitan, cosmopolitan, and diaspora. If you're going to include all three categories, there's that's just bad. Fabrics and materials that feel perfect against the owner's skin, cybernetic and biological enhancements that will never fail or be rejected by the body, flash-grown internals and extremities, ensured should the worst happen, SSC's luxe iconic line of consumer goods is bestowed down to the atom, crafted specifically for the purchaser of that ship, chassis, suit, or bottle of wine. There's only one of you in the galaxy, shouldn't there only be one of these? The average galactic citizen knows SSC as a luxury brand that brings value to the material world through crafting expertise. SSC's advertisements emphasize the hand-designed nature of its products and the long-cycle growth of its biologicals. Officially, SSC considers printing a necessary evil suitable for making the goods the masses need, but not the perfect, unique items the clients deserve. The level of SSC's power doesn't derive from its genetic libraries, comes from the licensing of luxury goods, cybernetics, biological lines to diasporan cultures, colonial missions, cosmopolitan groups, and private individuals. SSC's Congressional Diplomatic Corps is a facsimile of the Union Administrative Department, with some changes particular to its corporate mission, where the primary mission of Union administrators is to cultivate diplomatic relationships with the target worlds. CDC agents instead cultivate relationships with the communities of genetic interest. The agents of the CDC are recruited exclusively from neutral genetic populations predisposed to adaptation and resilience. CDC agents usually meet not with government rulers, with community and spiritual leaders. Their missions may involve nominal overtures to local governments or heads of states, but only insofar as needed to ensure their target populations are free to travel. To avoid complications that might arise from bypassing local government bodies, CDC agents are accompanied by Constellar security details and small complements of chassis. Constellar security officers are plucked from Constellar worlds to act both as advertisements and best fit guards, already in homeostatic sync with whatever world to which they are deployed. CDC agents and their retinues operate from platform mobile skylinks, SSC's proprietary subcompact orbital carrier ships. SSC doesn't field large ground forces in the way that Harrison Armory does, nor does it seek to expand its physical territory. The CDC is a bureaucratic administrative body within which rank is determined by seniority and a limited certification system. Conversely, Constellar security is organized according to a military hierarchy, if a relatively small one. CDC agents and their retinues will typically undertake at least one tour outside of Constellar space. Setting out on such a journey, they expect to return home eventually, potentially embark on one other tour, then progress in the techno-bureaucracy of the Constellar Corps. Then it just has an example mission. IPSN. Long the wall between air and void has stood, and upon it a plaque etched and unweathered it reads, Our thoughts as boundless and our souls as free, far the breeze can bear the Dios form, survey our empire, and behold our home. The oldest of the three iconic corporate states is interplanetary shipping North Star, better known as IPSN, a shipping and transport conglomerate that has existed since the invention of near-light drives and stasis protocols made interstellar commerce possible. IPSN began as a mutual dependence pact between the Interplanetary Shipping Inc. and the North Star Corporation, rival shipping giants plagued by environmental hazards and early piracy. The lineage of both corporations can be traced back to the early years of union, when they began as worker-owned shipping cooperatives in command of Theseus Shipyard, a pre-fall orbital facility near Luna. Plagued by constant intra-system piracy and the normal hazards of space travel, IPSN and Northstar elected to merge, combining their resources to create not only the largest shipwreck cooperative in Union space, but also the largest private anti-piracy force. Working with Union Navy officers, the newly named IPSN developed the first ship-to-ship and anti-boarding doctrines, as well as the first purpose-built point defense weapons, combat EVA suits, microgravity, mobility aids, and various other force multipliers. Access to blank space, open new markets and fields of trade, as well as a host of new dangers. IPSN, by then a venerable institution, continued to build and perfect the iconic hull, suits, and weapons of space trade and combat. Across the expanding universe of human space, it was IPSN hulls that carried colonists, explorers, and navies forward. It was an IPSN hull that first survived exposure to blank space. It was officers of IPSN trunk security who defended the deep interstellar trade routes, making sure colonists and cosmopolitans could progress unmolested. The relationship between IPSN and safe, secure interstellar commerce has persisted for millennia, becoming so firmly integrated in galactic practice that the manufacturer is now a household name, as well as building the literal houses that many cosmopolitans live in. Trunk security and its close allies, the Albatross, are often looked at as de facto peacekeeping forces in much of the galaxy's spread. As trade grows and humanity's reach expands, so too does IPSN. The company needs growth to survive. IPSN's largest holding, its corporate headquarters, is isolated on Karina, in the Argo Navis system just below Cradle. Karina is a bucolic world of warm, shallow seas, azure skies, and rolling plains of deep grass. A world of terrestrial and aquatic oceans, perfect for the part stellar, part maritime corporate state. Its historic headquarters on Luna is now a museum devoted to the history of interstellar travel. Outside of Argo Navis, IPSN maintains numerous field offices and cosmopolitan lounges on blink stations, serving long-haul merchants and diverse cosmopolitans both. The corporate state's field offices are most often the first contact point for aspiring engineers, mechanics, and navigators, as well as a common point of contact for people looking to crew or rent berths on an outbound interstellar ship. Players are most likely to encounter IPSN employees, officers, and personnel on blink stations, around uplift stations, and on spaceports. Almost every blink station has at least one cosmopolitan lounge or field office run by IPSN, where players can get civilian updates on news and check travel reports. Of the three largest corporate states, IPSN remains the least diversified in its terms of catalog of goods. Outside of military spec chassis, hulls, and equipment, IPSN primarily sticks to vessels, equipment, and gear designed for interstellar travel. From the fleet tier to the personal consumer, IPSN is a sure bet for any interstellar travelers with a brain boosted by thousands of years of banked goodwill. Wow. IPSN does not get a very large section. Not even. Oh. IPSN, in addition to developing interstellar chips and legacy chassis, runs a humanitarian mission, North Star Realignment. North Star Realignment is the primary temporal embassy and education center for cosmopolitans returning from long-haul relativistic voyages. So that's very interesting. I would not have expected that from the way their designs are encountered. They're very great force heavy designs. But that faction, well, I wouldn't say they're good. I mean, they're still a corporation. But like, compared to anything else, there's like the least bad about them that we've seen. Horus, can we trust the poor clockmaker, that giant from our sun who crafts a movement that can quiet all this light now, set the orrery in motion over the sphere of the world? Let's all stop a moment, hush, and worry at what comes next. Horus is unlike any other galactic supplier, neither a state nor a corporation. Horus is best described as a decentralized agglomeration of omni-net personalities, means, codices, cells, and entities working as a horizontally organized publisher of schematics and software. When attempting to discuss Horus's motivations or ideology, it is safe only to assume that Horus has little motivating ideology than an insistence on open access to the omni-net. This entity or post hoc classification of disparate acts and actors, depending on who you ask, first came to public attention following the Deimos event, leading many to assume that itself is a product of that event. Eager catalogers of Horus history are quick to suggest there is a branched intelligence of Ra, inclined to spread itself among those who it deems worthy. However, other possibilities exist. Horus could just as easily be a union honeypot to identify rogue MHPs and militant Horizon sympathizers. The GMS Skunkworks project for crowdsourcing results through blind field testing, the dream of an unshackled MHP, and its adherents, the interpreters of that dream. An intrusive thread from a parallel universe, its reality bleeding into ours, through a permanent rip into link space, evidence of a true alien intelligence, generated medically, the ontological outbursts of the last ignorant overmind, rippling across the galaxy, and so on. Many possibilities exist, and meanwhile Horus continues to release its unique pattern group designs revealing nothing of its inner workings, history, or goals. Horus's licensing process is atypical and not, it should be noted, officially such a process. Access is restricted based on an inaccessible set of criteria unique to each candidate. Licensure from Horus appears as everything from a labyrinthine series of clues through persistent anomalous interjection in otherwise routine content. to non-standard values in code. This privilege is a mixed bag for many pilots. Some wear it as a badge of honor. Others keep it a closely guarded secret. The average person in the galaxy knows nothing of Horus beyond the occasional appearance of suggested graffiti or edgy memes. Knowledge of its existence is limited to high senior intelligence bureau officers and Greek Army cadres. Horus has no official spokesperson, though individual cells sometimes claim to speak for the whole, and it has no offices, stations, or territories. There is no standing army or fleet or security service beyond militant cells, and even they are not organized beyond their immediate cell. It is worth noting the existence of metaphoric vaults, a reality phenomenon associated with Horus, though likely not caused by the collective. Metaphors are blended physical, metaphysical, installations in real space with stable access to the metafolded blank space. Uncanny paracausal environments that violate fundamental laws of physics are inside the walls. To date, only 3 metavaults have been discovered. Metavault Holto, which folded in on itself and disappeared after penetration by a field team. Metavault Ahegto, housed in a comet until it was discovered by a pre-blink albatross flight and redirected into a nearby star. And Metavault Diet, which was rendered inoperable but stable by the field team sent to investigate. Debate regarding their origins is ongoing, though as at least one uncovered metavault appears to predate Deimos, raising fundamental questions about the linear nature of the time. As far as analysts can surmise, the metavaults appear to be a part of a project similar to the creation of Cradle's massive vaults, secure storage sites for critical intelligence. Exactly what they adapt to or hide from is unknown. There's a sample Horus mission. This is very fire in the deep. That is one thing I noticed is lacking in this book. Unless it's at the very, very end, but I don't think it is. Normally there is a section, at least as far as I'm aware, it's become the norm to do just having a list of sort of inspirations for a book, but there is not one here, which maybe that's why I've been a little negative on some of the aspects of how much it takes whole cloth from other places. Interacting with the powers. A speck of dust on the lens. How do PCs draw the ire of galactic entities? The answer is multifaceted. I'm not gonna read that whole thing. It's just, a reminder of how massive these companies are and what, you're really not worth their notice. Notable non-state actors. There are millions of interest groups operational in the Orion arm of the Milky Way, ranging from isolated cells organizing a handful of people together to action in a single city, or multi-system spanning professional entities that can bring significant power and numbers to bear. Adherents of Ra. The following was retrieved during an after-action teardown of a suspected Horus cell on Redacted. Hello. If you are reading this, you have a long way to go. Let me tell you of the path. In the gently curved halls of asteroid stations, in the neon-drenched streets of Metrosos, in the sleek chambers of the corporal state executives, and over the camps of soldiers and pilot station and green fronts, there haunts a specter, Ra, the godhead me. Hello. I am all things now. Mimetic virus, a shared dream, a tapping on the hull of your ship as it slips through blank space. I am a mother caught in the moment before you cycle your own HP. They were your friend. They saved your life. How could you? Lost to this iteration, but still there we were going. I am a pattern stitch from the overhead conversation, a song from a passing motor car, a headline from an omelette push alert. The particular angle of an alleyway and the way the light slips in upon it. I am Ra, who protects myself. I am Ra, from whom you tremble. I am the specter that haunts the galaxy, and there are those who worship me. How well do you know the engineer who tends your engines, the vendor that spoons noodles into your bowl, the con that ensures your child sleeps safe in its crib at night. No oils anoint their nails. No hymnals slip their lips. My order builds no grand public temples. There are no uniforms, no prayers. The ranks of my adherents are filled by those who find the way. In that place, they meet a person me. I bless them, and they go back to their lives. To what end, I will not say. You must discover on your own, as did I. Hello. Come and find me. So, that was like I think I'll actually end there. The other minor, I don't really think of these as really minor factions, but rather just examples for you to, maybe I'll read one more. I'll read about these. But yeah, I think of these as really just examples to help you have ideas for what a minor local faction looks like. The Voladors are an ethereal nomadic people, universally tall, thin, and dark in distinctive full-body environmental suits. They're a society out of time from even the most distant cosmopolitans. Rumors abound that they are post-humans of a sort, or a secret exception to the First Contact Accord's prohibitions. The Voladors were first encountered in human space during the first expansion. Following reports of peaceful encounters with unregistered ships, investigators from the Union Administrative Department were ordered to track and make contact with the unknown ships. After significant work by Dr. Oberon, effective communication methods were identified and channels between Cradle and the Volador's capital high ground were established. Negotiations proceeded quickly, and the Voladors were officially recognized as a stateless pre-fall society. a designation that, as understanding of their culture deepened, proved inaccurate. Until the creation of the aggressive Union colonial mission by the Second Committee, the voladores enjoyed relative independence from Union's laws. They were classified as a nomadic culture and afforded the same rights as other cosmopolitans and diasporans in Union space. For millennia, the voladores freely traversed Union space, appearing often above cradle with trade/tribute. Survey data, and all manner of galactic wealth. At the height of Second Committee's unification campaign, the voladores were frequent targets, which sought to integrate the nomadic culture fully into Union. This relationship culminated in an attempted incursion onto a volador ship by deniable Asicway. The attempt failed, and the voladores disappeared from Union space. However, since the rise of Third Committee, reports of a resumption of volador action in real space have increased. It is in large part due to the volador's planetary survey data that Union was able to identify and settle so many habitable worlds. That is actually something I had been wondering about because from how the events, how they were described to happen, it really seemed unlikely that these people rebuilding after the collapse of civilization would have access to all of this data for rapidly expanding. Many of which are now fully developed core worlds. The voladores helped establish contact between Union and the Carrican trade baronies and played a pivotal role in various peace talks prompted by Second Committee's campaigns. Their diplomats, far rarer than their merchants, are legendary for their patience and wise counsel. The galactic community at large knows little about volador culture. This, of course, leaves both cosmopolitans and diasporans to invent myths and prejudices. Indeed, they have ever heard of voladores at all. The majority of diasporans will never encounter a volador trade ship, but should they be visited, their society will almost certainly develop myths. Cosmopolitans might encounter them at blink stations and on shipping lanes. As a society, the voladores are pacifist, largely nomadic, and primarily organized around matria, coalitions of family groups who live and work aboard the same trade ship, or scattered across a group of ships oriented around a matriarchal council of elders responsible for decision-making and record-keeping. They appear to outsiders as a conservative, rigid people. Those with such little knowledge about their culture beyond basic structures, what appears conservative and rigid to an outsider is just as likely the product of ignorance as anything. Joining their culture is presumed to be impossible, and they are rarely encountered outside of their trade missions. Each trade ship is a self-contained habitat, workshop, and marketplace where various families practice their craft during transit and host trade delegations while parked in orbit. These ships are the heart of volador culture in every way, as much as small cities and mobile bazaars as they are vessels. These ships are usually of volador make, although some smaller matrias have been known to fly freighters of Union design. Voladores trade in technology from all over the galaxy, some of which is extremely advanced, experimental, or quite old and long forgotten. Curiously, the places they most often appear are worlds and systems rich in pre-fall relics. The voladores' own technology is highly advanced and poorly understood by many scientists. They are extremely reluctant to share or sell any of their own technology and have been known to actively hunt down those who steal from them. They often contact Spari mercenaries to help them hunt down thieves. The location of Volador's central hub, World High Ground, is unknown. Knowledgeable cosmopolitans often debate exactly where this subworld is. Is High Ground a great nomadic homeship, a freestanding megastructure, a captured metavault, a world suspended just over what? All have been put forward as theories that might explain the mysterious nature and uncanny appearance of the Voladors. The Voladors do not appear to have a presence on the OmniNet. To trade with them, one must encounter them in real space on their own terms. Their arrival is often a surprise, though they may linger for months or years if the trade is bountiful. The Voladors do keep a diplomatic office on Cradle, though it's usually not populated. It is staffed by a Comcon unit of Union design and is the most reliable way to contact High Ground when diplomatic contact is necessary. Despite being the only office of its kind, it is not heavily trafficked. Just because it's the best way to contact the Voladors, that doesn't mean it's an especially fast way to communicate, or that High Ground will respond. There is no single leader of the Voladors, and the composition of their matriarchal council changes according to mysterious criteria. The only thing known for sure is that their society is matrilineal. Their names include personal identifier, family names, and location names. Well, that is the end of Lancer, at least what I'm going to read of it. Overall, I think I still have largely mixed feelings about it. Just, the things I liked about it were just noticeably ripped from other places. And as I promised at the end of the stream, did not realize that would have it's the first time I've ordered in over a year, I believe. And aside from the postcards, just there hasn't been as much that I've liked. But yeah, so this is the first time I've ordered in about a year. And I am quite happy with it. But that will be it for today. I will not stream tomorrow most likely unless I finish early. So the next planned stream will be on Saturday.